we have this new vision for UCT that is set out in the strategic framework. And I thought it would be a good idea to start having that conversation, what it means from certainly my perspective as the DVC for transformation. What do I see as the issues, and how do I think we should confront the challenges that's before us? And sort of in a way setting the tone. But in reality, what we would like to see happening is have these conversations replicating themselves in smaller spaces. I named my talk Reimagining UCT because I think in large what we're trying to do at UCT is to reimagine UCT. What kind of a university do we want where we can start talking about the issues that deals with inclusivity, that deals with diversity, and that deals with transforming a range of areas, including the curriculum, including the spaces that we inhabit, including the people that teach us. So I wanted to specifically talk about, well, what is the landscape that we are in terms of both the national landscape, the UCT landscape. And I particularly brought in the issue of protest as, in a way, driving some aspects of that landscape, albeit not everything. And then I wanted to focus on key areas that I think in a space such as this, you know, a faculty in a department should be concerned about. It's maybe a good idea to then look at our strategic plan. Those of you that have not seen it, it has 5 broad goals, and each of these goals are unpacked in much more detail. The goal that I specifically want to highlight is goal 1, and that goal talks about the need to forge a new inclusive identity that reflects a more representative profile of students and staff, as well as the cultures, values, heritage, and epistemologies of the diversity of UCT staff and students. I wanted to bring in the issue of curriculum because that has been a conversation that we've been having over the last year or so at UCT, is changing the curriculum, decolonizing the curriculum, and what does that mean? And I wanted to bring in my own perspective of what decolonization means. Now, the social inclusion narrative is an interesting one. It's new. It's something that has developed probably over the last 5 years or so. And it goes beyond the concept of transformation. It includes transformation, but it certainly has a wider scope. And it's situated in a human rights context very specifically, the rights to equality, to dignity, and the right to access to education. It says it embraces the entire humanity, cuts across all factors that divide human beings, recognizes that human beings, regardless of national boundaries of states, socioeconomic background, age, disability, ethnic or racial origin, religion, and any other form of belief have human rights that enable them to participate optimally in society and that reinforce their individual and collective identity. And the idea is that this definition of social inclusion must be a definition that one can also hold in the context of higher education. And then I wanted to then also and I've basically touched on it, but the idea of, as an academic, standing in front of a classroom, the need to actually interrogate and critique your own consciousness and your own value systems and beliefs when you come in as a teacher, and how you then respond to the student body in front of you. But also setting the tone for change by having conversations and linking those conversations to the curriculum.
In the department, whether we're dealing with students or staff, we've not generally engaged with these topics. So I think engaging with the topics would be the first step to kind of achieving transformation in the long term.
I thought I should share just my own particular thoughts on decoloniality. For me, I see it as a dynamic process that critically engages what is for me a central idea, and that is that there is a diversity of epistemologies, a diversity of truths, of knowledge, of ideas, as opposed to the notion of one dominant center of truth, right? So it requires of us to move beyond the kind of what I call Eurocentric fundamentalism that says to us the truth or knowledge is produced in the West, it comes from the West, and so therefore we need to, in the global South, uncritically reproduce it.
So going forward, we will have more sessions. We would like for the staff and students to tell us what issues are really burning for them. And if there are some good suggestions, we can continue having these kind of discussions, invite key people to talk about these issues, and hopefully expand people's understandings of those particular topics.
These conversations may be very uncomfortable in that regard, right? Because I think what it means is sometimes being critiqued, being challenged on your way of thinking, on your modes of doing. And that requires a kind of openness that I think not all of us have. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be a painless process. But unfortunately, it does require us to kind of dig deep and accept the critique and develop some tough skins. I think it's very important, finally, perhaps in conclusion, to say that I think these conversations are vital. I also think one needs to create spaces where people can be open and honest about how we feel about transformation and what is required. Because otherwise, we're probably going to circle around the real issues and not really be able to really grapple with our own fears and anxieties.